Hello, welcome to the next reading vlog. We are starting off on an interesting note. So, right now I'm reading from Blood and Ash. That's the next book. I had to pick it up because it has something like 4.2 rating on roughly 450,000 reviews. Wild to me. Wild. So, I just finished chapter 5. I'm liking the writing style so far, so that's good. And we're getting, we're like just getting into the world. It feels like the introduction is like a little bit slow. Yes, we're getting the world building, and the author is just giving like little tidbits here and there. And the chapters are a little bit long. So right now it's like, okay, it's okay. There's two things that I'm not loving so far. One, all of this talk of the veil. I don't feel like this is going to go over well. We'll see. And number two, there has already been like one sexual assault where the Lord, I don't know, whatever that Lord's name is, pulls her into a corner and like gropes her. I hate reading about stuff like that. So I unless I don't like I feel torn about this because I never like reading about sexual assault, period. And I also don't like it as a tactic to move the plot. I don't know what's going to go down between these two characters in the future, but right now it was used for the main character to be in a situation to see something happen. Like she needed to be in this particular location because like somebody gets injured. There are other ways for her to be in that scenario, and the only excusable way I would be okay with this is if it's setting up a relationship between them in the future. Like if homegirl wants to go on to like kill this man or something, I'm like, okay, I can deal with that. But anything other than something of that nature, not a fan. We'll see how this plays out. We're very early on. These are my early thoughts. Last thing, she is our home girl here. Our main character, Poppy, is taking risks, and people are accusing her of like not wanting to ascend. I feel like my prediction of things is that she's not going to ascend, and she's going to maybe like be condemned to death and then escape. That's my first take after 5 chapters. She is an idiot. Your castle is being attacked, and the first thing that you want to do, being her, is run to the front lines. That is not intelligent. Who does that? And then Hawk, which is, he finds her, and like the first thing he says to her is that like, you're beautiful. And then he gets back to her room and out of nowhere is like, your hair is beautiful. Does this man, who apparently is interested in rising through the ranks, he has some, like, he has a modicum of professionalism at least, and he goes out of nowhere, your hair is beautiful. What? Make it make sense. Okay, y'all, here's my prediction. I think our homeboy Hawk, I think he's the dark one. Also, the dark one is way too close to the darkling. I don't like that, but I think he has infiltrated. I hope I'm right and I'm not really stupid in making this claim. We'll see. Even if it's wrong, I'm going to put it in here. This is my guess. I think he is infiltrated the the guard to kidnap our maiden. I think that's what's happening. I also think he's pulling a Darkling and like seducing her. So when the two of them met at the Red Pearl, I think it was like happenstance. Like he didn't actually know it was her, but then once he realized the situation, um, like it was her, he used it to his advantage to seduce her. This is what I think is gonna happen, or what's going on, and it's like way too convenient that the Duke just like gets killed with his cane. Hawk was missing too. Hawk did it. I don't think he's like some spurned lover. This is what I wish I did in the first one because I have so many theories. When you've read enough fantasy, you know that like the first book is just the setup. You know, it's just the setup. I read Throne of Glass, and like the mystery of what was happening in the castle was just the tip of the iceberg. I don't know it's gonna go that far because that was like what, 7 books, I think. She doesn't have that much space, but I think this whole like what's happening in this book is just tip of the iceberg. It's gonna go political, and then I think that what this whole like ascension, they're not saying much about it, and she doesn't know much about it. So I'm thinking that the Dark One is not actually doing bad shit. I think he's like doing good shit that the I don't know, the capital, the people are framing as bad because it's going to usurp their power and it's like threatening their power too. So I think they're gonna kidnap her before she ascends. I think they're gonna let her know that like this ascension is like it's not what it seems, and maybe they'll also, what are they, like the Anatolians or whatever. I want to call them like Atlanta. Are the Atlantans? You know what I'm talking about. They're actually not dead, and I mean I feel like it's already kind of proven so far in this book, but the Dark One is one of them. They're actually not bad people, and the tables are gonna turn. As Michael Scott would say, how the turntables have turned. I think that's what's gonna happen. We're definitely gonna go off the political deep end, and it's gonna be like, oh, it's a war between these two factions and the capital is not what I think that's where we're going. I think that's where we're going. If I'm spot on, which I hope I am, I can say I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this book. I only knew that the main character's name was Poppy. I might have known at one point she was the maiden. I do remember reading something about ascension, but I actually thought that meant that she was gonna die. So I guess I didn't know like anything about this book. We'll see. I'll keep you posted. Y'all, I called it. Okay, they're only revealing that Hawk is an Atlantean. He could still be the Dark One. He still could be. I absolutely hate this trope of like bad guy villain who seduces the main character. Now, when you look at something like Shadow and Bone, the Darkling is a different villain than, let's say, somebody like Rysand. Or I was reading a book, I think it's called These Holy Vows, These Hollow Vows, and These Twisted Bonds. There are characters in there who are villains that sleep with the main character without fully knowing the situation. While later on in the books, well, okay, for the Darkling is just not like, he's a villain. He's always a villain. And he was seducing her for nefarious purposes. In this case, you can't consent. Like, that's not consent. Like, this is I hate this trope. I hate this trope. I hate this trope. I hate this trope. Because this does happen in reality too. And like people think that it's okay or like it's fine because the person said yes, and like, yeah, she said yes to a circumstance. If she knew the situation, she never would have said yes. Therefore, it's not consent. She never would have consented with the information that she has now. I'm like, I did see it coming, so I'm not like as pissed as I expected, but I also like wasn't expecting them to sleep together yet, because in these kinds of books, the bad guy I think will eventually become the good guy, but I also don't like when that happens either. Like, I think she's going to come around to their political goals, but that's irrelevant because it always seems like a way to make questionable consent fine. Because consent is of the moment. Even if a year down the line she recognizes and is like, yes, I'm in this belief, I'm in this headspace, that doesn't negate what happened a year previous. She still wouldn't have consented in that moment. That's what matters, that moment. When this happens, when Hawk gets her over to his political beliefs, which I feel like is going to happen. This is always what happens in these books. Like, they're going to be together. They haven't introduced another love interest, so I think it's going to be him. In my opinion, one of the purposes that it serves is to like undercut the, I don't know, the nastiness or the unquestionableness that was the consent. It like makes it okay. No, just because you would sleep with him later doesn't mean that you would sleep with him in that circumstance. I'm gonna keep reading. Y'all, what is going on? Homeboy is like not feeling any kind of way about what he did to our main protagonist, Poppy. Like, he's making jokes to her like, you didn't see that last night. You didn't feel that way last night. You're not understanding that what you did to her was wrong? I'm so worked up about this. And I knew that there was going to be something with the Ascended. I was right. They're fucking vampires, though. They're vampires? I didn't see that coming. That's so random. They're vampires? I mean, this book was written in 2020. I kind of felt like, or 2020 is past our vampire era, so it feels a little, anybody can write about vampires at any time. But vampires feel very 2010. I'm still convinced that our homeboy is the dark one. I'm convinced. And just like the way that it's going, like, Poppy is not mad at him. Like, she's kind of mad, but like, he's cleaning up her wounds and she is just like still feeling stuff. I'm sorry. Homie killed people. Like, he was responsible for the deaths of people that you love. Sure, he's been through shit. Like, his story about like basically being tortured, heartbreaking. I understand why he's doing what he's doing. And like, with time, maybe you can come to forgive him. But like, you found out like 6 hours ago and you're like, still lusting for him. I have no words. I think the story is interesting about like, the I think the story is interesting about like just the politics of the two groups, but that doesn't mean that we still need to lust after this main character. And fucking Hawk, I'm sorry, it's nasty. The way that he's reacting to her and is still like throwing it in her face. This is unfortunately the real life reaction of a lot of men in these scenarios. So it gives me the ick. Okay, last thing. I think I'm more than 50% of the way through, or around that mark, I think. Hold on. Okay, one more thing. I'm near the end. I'm on chapter 37. 3-star vibes. Unless something amazing happens at the end, 3 stars. I'm not gonna go into all the reasons for why I would give it that review now, but 3 stars. I'm also like in my pajamas. It's like midnight. It's midnight, and I'm very emphatic about this. Okay, good night. Like an idiot, I didn't go to sleep. No, I didn't. It's 12:53. I'm so mad. I'm so mad. Um, there's the whole fight scene. And then homeboy patches up our girl, gives her blood, whatever. And then she has this meltdown where she realizes, oh fuck, this, like, he's using me. He's using me and he's gonna sell me to the Ascendants for his brother back. She tries to stab him and then they have sex outside in the snow. Is that logical? Is that logical? Tell me, would you do that? Why? 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 I don't understand. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. Okay, I have about 5 minutes before I have to leave. I just finished the book. Why? So, the only thing I hate more than, like, why does the book end with him saying they're getting married? I don't like the forced marriage plot. No. Jennifer Armentrout, no. I didn't realize just how close to the end I was. Otherwise, I would have finished it last night. It was only like an additional 10 minutes. I'm like a little lost for words. She's an Atlantean herself, which I kind of guessed when he like tasted her blood and then was like, oh my god, I know what you are. That deserves a hair flip. I know what you are. The only other thing it could be, if it's not a vampire, is an Atlantean. And then they're gonna get married? Like, you know that they're gonna fall in love after, but forced marriage, why do all the fantasy girlies do this? I'm obsessed with knowing what happens next. I'm that kind of person. So am I gonna read the second one? Yeah, I'm gonna read the second one. This is not a 4.2. This is not a 4.2. Even in 2020, it's not like this book came out a decade ago and then, you know, we've had all these books that are like twists and turns since then. This came out 3 years ago. This is not a 4.27. This is not a 4. This is a solid 3. I don't know, maybe I'm just bothered by non-consensual relationships, non-consensual marriages. I don't know, call me insane. Or maybe I'm just not a fan of, like, tricking women into sleeping with you and then not feeling bad about the fact that you did that. And then having our homegirl have sex with the guy again after having a mental breakdown and being really upset about the fact that he tricked her and only wants to use her to get his brother back. And then after, like, she tries to kill him. It's illogical. I don't understand. I swear, people are going to be like, well, she's 18. Even when I was 18 doing some unhinged shit, I would have never, like, tried to kill a guy and then, like, have sex with him an hour later. No. I'm gonna have to come back with some final thoughts later, but like... Bye. Okay, last thing. This whole marriage thing is like fucking me up a little bit because this, oh my god, there's this snail on my window. Okay. So it's messing with my head a bit because he has been telling her, oh my god, you've been given no choice and like the role that they've picked for you sucked and like you have no life and you have no freedom. He keeps telling her that even before she left, or like he kidnapped her basically. He was like hinting at that. And then homie is like, we're getting married. That's another, like, if you legitimately believe that for her, then you would not be saying, we're getting married. Also, it wasn't a question, it was a statement, meaning he's not giving her a choice. Even if, I feel like later down the line, he's gonna be like, I knew that you loved me. I knew that, like, you, like we would be happy. You still give that person a choice. You ask them. You don't assume. He's doing it for his own benefit, for his own selfish reasoning, because he needs her for this, or he thinks it's best for her, or like whatever, like because he wants her to turn or whatever, then they need to get married. He's assuming he knows best for her. Is this not what everyone else has been doing? Unless what we're thinking that like I actually know best and everybody else doesn't, like, or didn't. Sometimes men, no, almost all the time, men have way too much audacity. I would say he's a cishet white man, but like, not really. He's like a fantasy guy. So, audacity still. Like, why? Making choices for women. Love that for her.